Welcome to this special edition of SportsBeat KC, the sports podcast of the Kansas City Star and KCUR. It's Friday, November 28th, and I'm Blair Kirchhoff here with Star columnist Sam McDowell and beat writer Pete Sweeney. Hey, Sam.
How's it going?
Good. Pete, how you doing?
I'm all right.
Happy Thanksgiving, guys.
Yes.
Hey, we may be joined later by Vahe Gregorian, also a Star columnist. Perhaps he'll make another dramatic entrance like he did in the last episode. And speaking of dramatic, the Chiefs lost to the Dallas Cowboys 31-28 on Thanksgiving Day in a game that I think we'll remember most for Chiefs failures. And on this day when Patrick Mahomes threw four touchdown passes, Rashee Rice caught two of them, and the game could not have had a better start for the Chiefs. And yet, so many issues, so many problems for the Chiefs, and probably damaged their playoff possibility. I don't know if it ended it, but it certainly damaged it. Pete, what's your big takeaway from this one?
Yeah, I think we're finding out that, and I think we talked about it before the season began, that the other shoe can indeed drop. And a little bit of gambler's fallacy there where you don't think that just because everything went right last year, everything is going to go wrong this year. But it's odd. It's kind of exactly what happened. And I look at this game, and I've kind of taken a peek at social media, and I could see some frustrated fans about the penalties. And look, man, I didn't think the officials were great, but you're still outgained 457-362. The Chiefs had no answer for CeeDee Lamb and George Pickens. And when you're going against a high-powered offense like that, you can't have four empty possessions in the middle of the game in a row. And I really think that's a bigger story than maybe a few questionable calls at the end.
Where did the Chiefs really go wrong in this one?
The same place that they've gone wrong in every loss. Late in the game, the big moments of the game, they've just collapsed inexplicably whenever this team faces adversity. You know, I was going through it because the game, the 1 point lead in the fourth quarter on, what was it, the second snap of the fourth quarter, the touchdown to Rashee Rice, and they kicked the extra point for the lead. It's the third time this year that the Chiefs have held a fourth quarter lead and lost a game.
That never used to happen.
Third time in 52 days that they've done that. They hadn't done it in 760 days where they had a fourth quarter lead and lost the game. They've done it three times in 52 days. And, you know, Pete mentioned it, but to me, everything you believe that this team is capable of is no longer rooted in what this team has done. It's rooted in this team's history. And at some point, we have to start considering that those are two distinct things.
I do want to mention, I had a nice conversation with Nick Bolton after, and I asked him, just kind of blanket, pinpoint, where did the defense maybe go wrong in this game? Steve Spagnuolo always makes the goal of 17 points. They were nowhere close, 31 points surrendered in this game. And he mentioned that stretch where Dak Prescott threw over the middle. Mike Edwards zooms down. They don't get the pick. Next play goes to George Pickens. He fumbles, and somehow Cavante Turpin comes out of nowhere and is able to hop on the ball. And if you really look at the Chiefs' metrics, you know, from the traditional, the yards per game and the points allowed, they're in the top six. But it's been these big game-changing moments that you haven't seen. The key number is the turnovers. They came into the game with 9 turnovers, and they had one in this game early. But that's fourth worst in the NFL coming into it. So as great as the defense is, I think both the defense and the offense are missing these big plays, those game-changing plays in big moments, and that seems to be the identity of the Chiefs right now.
They didn't come close to recovering that fumble. I mean, Turpin was all over it. I don't know if the Chiefs were even aware that the ball was out, but that would have been a game changer if...
Right, because you're now down 7 as opposed to 10 going the other way. I would have tied the game as opposed to just getting closer.
Well, the Chiefs are now 6-6, and they squandered the opportunity to build on last weekend's dramatic win over the Colts when we thought the corner had been turned for this team, right?
Yeah.
They get a great comeback win. They're down, in the fourth quarter by 2 scores and get it done in overtime. And then this game starts out. It couldn't have been better for the Chiefs. Play number 3 is the pressure on Dak Prescott that results in the interception by Jalen Watson. Play number 5 is a Mahomes touchdown pass to Rashee Rice. 7-0, and their 2 minutes haven't gone by in this game. And I'm thinking the Chiefs who won the toss and deferred are going to get the ball in the second half. They already have a huge advantage in the leverage of the game with a touchdown on the board and getting the ball to start the second half. And then, Pete, I think you mentioned it. Then I think control of the game changed end of the first half, beginning of the second half, where they had 4 possessions and punted away 4 consecutive possessions. You can't do that.
Well, and the other quality of those 4 possessions is they all advanced into Dallas territory.
Yes.
The Chiefs advanced into Cowboys territory on their first 7 drives. And to me, this is where, I mentioned in my column that I think the pressure moments this season have seemed to swallow this team whole, whether it's, Rashee Rice dropping a 3rd down pass for a first down in the 4th quarter, whether it's getting into 5 3rd and long situations and giving up 6 3rd and long situations, giving up completions on all 6, 5 of them resulting in first down. Like, those are the game's big moments. But this applies to the coach as well, because you have big moments on 4th down. You've got 4th and 4 from the 49 to open the 3rd quarter. You've got 4th and 4 from the 44 on the next drive of the 3rd quarter, and Andy Reid punts. And I asked him about it after the game. He said, hindsight, he probably should go for it. It's not hindsight. I mean, I tweeted out at the time that Chiefs should be going for it here. All the analytics say you need to be going for it here. And to me, it's symbolic of what the Chiefs have done this season, which they've shied away from adding on pressure to the biggest moments of the game. They've shied away from these pressure moments. And now you've got their coach shying away from the pressure moments as well. I mean, he had no reason to believe in the defense at that point in the game. The Cowboys were getting whatever they wanted, especially on 3rd down, whenever they wanted it. And so I thought when the momentum's already slipping away from you, you're on the plus territory. I think he made a mistake that he should take more time to think about, that it's not just the result is the reason for the mistake. It's the process that he failed there too.
Well, and now, based on where they are in the season and in the standings, you can't let opportunities like that pass anymore.
Yeah, great point.
Yeah. They came into this game as the 10th seed in the AFC. You have to get to 7 to make the playoffs, and they're not going to pick up any ground with this result. So they've got to, they're going to have to take some risks.
Well, we'll see how the rest of the weekend plays out. Just used one of the calculators out there. The NFL Next Gen Stats currently has them a 39% chance to make the postseason. If they were to win every game, it's a pretty damn good bet that they would make the playoffs. It's just that room for error, any loss, it's going to really slash those percentage points down.
I think, look, this is a unique situation to this iteration of the Chiefs, the Patrick Mahomes Chiefs. They've never been in a spot like this where they're entering December as a favorite to be home in January. But I've said for the longest time, I think that there was margin for error, that you could lose one more game. I think they leave Dallas without that margin for error. But when you lose that game first, all of the pressure is on every game now. You get in another game like this, where we're talking about these 4th down decisions, I think the second guessing is going to be even more pressed in that situation, because you don't have another game to lose in all likelihood. So even someone who believed in the margin for error now believes that the path to running the table is a lot more difficult. And by the way, if you believe the Chiefs are on the table, we're back at the onset of this conversation, which is, to me, that belief is based on what they've done in the past, because we haven't seen reason for that this year.
And look, you're not only going to have to win 5 games in a row, you're going to be doing it with an offensive line that's not your starting offensive line. And I think that's a huge problem coming out of this game. You look at the next opponent, the Texans, they just get the quarterback. Doesn't look like Josh Simmons is going to play anytime soon with a wrist injury. You don't know about Juwan Taylor with his triceps thing. Trey Smith already didn't play in this game. So at the end of the game, you have Wanye Morris and Mike Caliendo on the line. Like, hello, 2020. Like, welcome back. And that was a team that had already won all the games that they needed to. Now you're in a position where you need to win every week.
This is SportsBeat KC here with Sam McDowell and Pete Sweeney. I'm Blair Kirchhoff. Heck, last season when how many left tackles did the Chiefs go through?
Yeah, four starting left tackles.
Yeah. And then it was just a disaster in the Super Bowl loss to the Eagles, the makeshift offensive line. And also Brian Cook lost in today's game, came back, but then ended up leaving the game. And Mike Edwards ended up, who had been on the practice squad this year, got the snaps today. And so, yes, injuries are now an issue for a Chiefs team where they have been relatively healthy throughout the year, haven't they? They've been luckier than most teams when it came to
Yeah, I mean, Josh Simmons missed time. Wasn't, an injury situation, but I think Jalen Moore played pretty well. Like, that wasn't a reason they actually played their best football while Josh Simmons was away. And I think that's more coincidental than causation. But injuries have not been an excuse for this team. And you said it, Blair, but we don't actually have to look back at 2020. Just look at last year to where, Patrick Mahomes can handle weaknesses on his offensive line, but he handles them from the tackle situation much more poorly than he handles it on the interior. We've seen him have inferior talent on the interior offensive line and play okay. When it's the tackles and he can't see the pressure, and that's what he was facing out here in the fourth quarter whenever their bookends were Wanye Morris and Jalen Moore. If that's what we're seeing going forward, look at who they have next week.
One of the most ferocious defensive fronts in the NFL in the Houston Texans.
Well,
and the Broncos down the road, right? Also, great defense.
That's why this team is going to have to turn back the clock a little bit to being defense first, because it's really going to affect, in my opinion, the point output. How many points are you going to be able to score with this protection? I don't think it's going to be in the realm of 30, which when they had the full offensive line, I think that they were truly capable of. And so to me, you're dialing it back to that 2022, 2023 stretch where maybe this has to be defense first. And maybe if you're able to miraculously win 5 games in a row, maybe get some of these linemen back.
That's a good point. Even with, today playing against the defense, it's ranked very low, but it has improved over the last couple of years with the addition of Williams. The Chiefs couldn't get to 30, and they needed a near miracle play to set up their last touchdown, the Mahomes strike, to Worthy, right? The one for 42 yards when Mahomes should have stumbled twice and ended up completing the long pass, set up the last touchdown. But I want to talk about the penalties. You mentioned them earlier, Pete. 10 penalties for 119 yards. The Chiefs are, I think I should get this called up here, but I know they've had 4 games this season where they've had at least 10 penalties. They've lost them all.
Wow.
It was.
Look at the impact of the ones today, Blair. The couple of those drives that I mentioned were early third quarter, but you mentioned this was actually about the end of the half and the early third quarter drives. And the end of the first half were those penalty calls. You had the holding on Josh Simmons, which a questionable call that the Chiefs would have been in field goal range already. There's at least 3 points off the board with that penalty. And then the next drive, they have another penalty that on the offensive pass interference on Xavier Worthy, which, to be honest, I also thought was a weird call. But that's another time where they're in field goal range without that penalty. There's another 3 points. That is, I know people think penalties is a tired excuse. That's at least 6 points off the board in a game you lost by 3.
And tough game for Trent McDuffie.
Yeah, I think Trent had one of the worst games of his career. Now he's going against CeeDee Lamb, who's one of the best in the NFL. And to Sam's point, I do think the penalties are worth bringing up. There were 5 defensive pass interference calls in this game, and all of them went against the Chiefs, which feels a little bit lopsided. But they were getting no breaks against Lamb and Pickens. And Andy Reid, he doesn't like to dive into the penalties because it costs you money, which he'll sometimes joke about. And I don't think it necessarily is his style, but he did make the point. I believe Sam was asking it.
He said, I'm not always going to agree with the call, but the calls are made. They've got some physical receivers, big, strong, physical guys. That's the way they were playing in return. My guys were fighting to maintain leverage at that. Yeah. It's not the way I saw it, but it's the way they saw it. The officials saw it, so they made the calls. You got to stay aggressive against those guys. There's no other way to do it. These were the types of receivers that are giving the Chiefs problems. Trent McDuffie is an excellent cornerback. The last time we saw him struggle was against A.J. Brown. These bigger body receivers, he is a smaller framed receiver, and George Pickens leads the NFL in contested catches. CeeDee Lamb's not far behind him. George Pickens has more contested catches than the Chiefs do as a team this year. And so that's what Andy Reid, when he says they play physical, it's the point of attack too, that they play physical. And I think that Andy Reid's view of it, this is the three of us speaking Andy Reid language over the years, is that there was a lot of hand fighting in this game. And I think, seemed to think that one side was getting called for a lot of hand fighting. Pete said it best. I did not think the Chiefs got the friendly whistle today. The Chiefs also didn't play well enough to win the game.
Right. What was the OptaStats note?
Yeah, five defensive. Has 5 pass interference overall because one was the OPI on Xavier Worthy.
Right.
In the second half against one team is only the second time in 35 years I think that's happened. Yeah. That was just accepted because I thought I remembered at least one declined.
Right.
The pass was.
I was including the ones that were declined. I'm just saying you saw 5 flags thrown. I wasn't talking accepted.
Well, I mean that was the OptaStat though, was just 5 1/2 on a team, and I can see now there's a second quarter penalty that defensive pass interference on Jalen Watson that was declined
because they were catching the ball anyway. So they were just
right.
They were just taking the yards. And
well, that'll be this will be a big topic with Chiefs fans. They're coming out of this game, the penalties, and but it's a losing argument. You're not going to win anything. You've got to. Andy Reid said it best, and you don't have to agree with it, but you've got to accept it going forward.
And I mean, they've got plenty else to focus on for this game that they can control, because that's something that's out of their control.
One of the other things we found after the game, the stat that this was the first time Patrick Mahomes has lost a game in which he's thrown 4 touchdown passes and no interceptions. So 11. It happened 13 times total. He's 12-1 now in those games, including one of the playoffs.
Yeah, and that's what Vahe, who hasn't joined us, I think, is writing about, that, it's no longer enough. And it reminded me, and I actually ended my column this way, of like this week, I found myself watching film from 11 years ago and was watching Patrick Mahomes in college. And something that's always struck me about, because it was his first game actually here at AT&T Stadium, it's always struck me about it, and you wrote about this last year, Blair, is like, how did this guy lose so often in college? And then like when I'm watching the film of them playing this week, I'm like, throws for 598 yards, throws for 6 touchdowns. I'm like, oh, this is how they lose, because they give up 48 points. Like everything else around him goes wrong. Like I wondered in this stadium if that felt a little bit similar. I mean, the guy played his tail off.
Had a great game, another great game. 2 weeks in a row. I thought terrific efforts by Patrick Mahomes, and has the one win last week. But
he's always going to stay positive. But I think these past few losses, he's felt exhausted to me after the game.
It's a great word for it.
What more can I do?
Yeah, Pete and I were in the locker room. Sam, you talked to Mahomes after the game. How was his demeanor?
I think sort of accepting of where they are. I found him he certainly wasn't sugarcoating at all where they are. I also didn't feel like this, and it's fresh after the game. He came in more quickly than I think we usually talk to him, so it was even fresher than normal, but I certainly didn't feel this fire that this is going to get turned around with the snap of a fingers. I mean, I felt like somebody who recognizes that there's an uphill battle that awaits.
Indeed. All right, Pete, we always turn to you for the press box review of the meal and the stadium and everything else. What are your impressions?
Yeah, I mean, I'm new to this, going on the road, first year with the Star, and so I haven't seen the whole NFL, but I really enjoyed the food today. Jerry did a fantastic job feeding us Thanksgiving. There were plenty of options, which I know my colleague to my left, Sam, enjoys. And I ranked them 2 so far of stadiums I've seen. Chiefs fans are going to hate to hear this, but Denver is the premier press box food in the NFL. But I thought this was a close second for me.
It's an incredible stadium, and I've been here several times. Big 12 championship games, a couple of now Chiefs Cowboys games. It really is a magnificent building, and maybe one of the top 5 stadiums in the world. I think 93,000 today. I'm not sure the Chiefs have ever played in front of a larger crowd than they played in front of today in their history.
That's interesting.
The environment
That's
was
such a Blair stat, by the way.
Meaningless, but kind of
It's interesting. Yeah, it's something I'd never thought of. But yeah.
This is such a tough loss because the environment was electric. It was playoff-like. There were so many people here. And regardless of all the mistakes we talked about throughout this whole podcast, they lost by 3 points and had a real chance to win despite. And you look at the alternate universe of what this could have been. You find a way, like we've seen them do so many times. You're 7-5. You get 3 days off to take a breather. Yeah, you might have some injuries, but your whole outlook is different. Now you're just sitting with it, and 10 games before the next game. Meanwhile, you're going to see all these other bubble teams surrounding them. Some of them are going to win, and you're going to feel even more grim when you get back on Tuesday or whatever it is. So this is the low point, right? 8 straight AFC title games to begin your career. This is the low point of Patrick Mahomes' career, and we've seen him come and find ways to work his magic and get them in a position to be where they want to be. But this feels dire. So, can you bring it really? And I'm not even making a joke here, but can you bring the season out of the depths of hell? Because that's really where you are right now.
They might be home for the AFC Championship game again. I mean, they might be back in Kansas City for that game for a whole different reason.
Right.
To Pete's point, because I mentioned the fact that these blown fourth quarter leads, and 7 times this year they trailed in the second half. The only time that they've won is last week against the Colts. But the other 6, they've either been leading in the fourth quarter or they've had a possession to take the lead in the fourth quarter. So 3 times they've blown a lead. The other 3 times they've had a chance, given the ball to the offense and said, go win the game. And they haven't been able to do it. So there's so much blame to go around here, but none of that blame was present for this team last year because both units came through in that situation so many times, and now they can't find anybody to come through.
Well, and I'd suggest all 3 units because how many times did they win a game on doinking field goals and blocking field goals and 3 different kickers, and it was an amazing season, and this is just the opposite.
Well, you look at the fourth quarter, for example, after they took that 1-point lead, they're outgained 171-79 the rest of the way.
Ugh.
I think this is the toughest part because you look at the rest of the schedule. Maybe this is a good place to close. You give them the wins against Tennessee and Las Vegas, even though they're on the road. They're just even this team with some of the issues and injuries. I just think they can win those games. Those other 3 games, Houston next week, LA to follow, and Denver, all 3 of those teams are essentially playing for the same thing you are. Houston is on the bubble of the playoffs. LA is holding on to a wild card. Again, this isn't great to hear, but Denver's vying for the number 1 seed. So they're going to want to beat you just as bad as you want to beat them. And it's a good place to close it. The playoffs have started now. They have to win out.
Great conversation, as always. I want to thank our SportsBeat KC staff of Suzanne Hogan, Gabriella Lacey, Irvin Zhang, Monty Davis, and Allison Booth, and our editors, Jeff Rosen and Scott Chasen. We'll be back soon with another SportsBeat KC, where we talk sports in Kansas City.